Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and as promised, it's deep dive time. It's time to go into the unsealed Jeffrey Epstein files. Now, for those that don't know what I am talking about, a judge in a court of appeals ruled that they would be unsealing a ton, up to 2,000 pages of Epstein documents in relation to the Virginia Giuffre Roberts defamation lawsuit. And I don't have all of them. I know a lot of people are sending me links. There was one person that started sending me stuff through Google Drive. Okay, I'm very well aware of the FBI vault. I have all of them. And just to show people that I'm not a bullshitter and that I do the work here, okay, I've downloaded everything I could. So if you're looking over here at these files, this top one here, Alan Dershowitz petition, that one was just released by the Miami Herald, and it deals with his court dealings with David Boies, who is a representative of Giuffre, and him trying to get the case thrown out several different times. In fact, again, the Miami Herald not only released the document, but they did an entire article explaining it. Now, if we go back over here to my documents, you'll notice there's a lot of transcripts here, okay? So a lot of these transcripts have to do with Ghislaine Maxwell, the woman who was supposedly the number one person in charge of Epstein's shenanigans and the woman by his side, okay? So I've opened a bunch of these. Some of them are 35 pages. Some of them are 150 pages. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to find in those. I got those very late last night. However, I got some other ones I was able to go through. If you're looking through the Jeffrey Epstein, those are the old FBI documents. But on the bottom, you'll see one that says Haley Robson. She is another one of the alleged procurers. Several other of the alleged procurers are actually named in this as well as defendants. We're going to be doing a separate video on that. And you also had a guy named Ross Gow. Now, I think I found a video of Ross Gow. I'm not going to play it. He has a YouTube channel, and it's him firing a type of machine gun at a range or somewhere outside. Apparently, according to these documents, he was the personal agent of Ghislaine Maxwell to defame a lot of these young women and their stories. But what we're going to focus on here right now is just one piece. Notice it's document 1-4. It's 27 pages of Dershowitz's taped testimony. Now, just like you guys, I want more. In fact, these 27 pages are so juicy that I want the entire deposition. Obviously, I'd love to have the actual videotape of his deposition, but we're just going to have to go by what was said in this small part. So some previews of what we're going to find out here. Well, we're going to find out the names of several of the other pilots that we do not have the flight manifest list for. I believe there are 3 other such pilots. We're going to find out in this deposition that Alan Dershowitz indeed did meet Jeffrey Epstein in the late 90s, even though they don't specify that date. If you do the math, you'll find that out. And it was, I believe it was either at Leslie Wexner's birthday party, 50-something birthday party. But then he goes on to say that he was actually introduced to Epstein. Now get this. Dershowitz is introduced to Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell together by who? Lady Rothschild. And when Dershowitz is pressed on Bill Clinton's relationship to Jeffrey Epstein, he decides to bring up the fact that Donald Trump was seen by Dershowitz at Epstein's home. And I've already seen some people trying to spin that Roger Stone, he's so honest, already addressed this and said that Trump went to his house once, he saw underage girls at the swimming pool, and then left. Well, according to that, was Alan Dershowitz there that one time? Or are we talking about separate instances? We know that Jeffrey Epstein, at the very least, traveled on Trump's private plane with Ghislaine Maxwell and Melania. That's according to Vanity Fair, well before any of these allegations came out. So, what do we have? We have 27 pages of Dershowitz's testimony in this case where Bradley Edwards is grilling him. And Bradley Edwards is the man that beat Epstein in court. Remember that trial that got all the way to jury selection, then all of a sudden Epstein signed a document, paid some money, and ended it? Bradley Edwards is the person that beat him. And what time that took. It was not an easy thing. So let's just go through it. As you can see, videotape. This is from the beginning of 2016. So let's start looking at this. I think we should probably even make it a little bit smaller, huh? Let's zoom it down to, let's see, zoom to page level, fit width. Come on, man. You're killing me here. Sorry, guys. Window. There we go. We want that. No, it's not what we want. Ah, you're going to kill me, aren't you guys? Whatever, we're just going to do it. I apologize for that. Train wreck right there. All right, so he's asking basically, this is Roberts. Virginia Roberts and the things that she said. Was she lying when she said that she has flown on Jeffrey Epstein's airplane? And this is, Mr. Indyk is Dershowitz's attorney, okay? So again, we're in the middle of the deposition here. And apparently Dershowitz every hour got to take a break because of his age. I think he's 80-something, 82 right now, so he would have been in his late 70s in this. And Dershowitz wants to answer anyway. I think I can answer that question. Based on the material that was produced in discovery, which would not be subject to privilege, there seems to be evidence that she did fly on the airplane with Jeffrey Epstein. Was she lying when she says she was flown on Jeffrey Epstein's airplane across state lines at a time when she was under the age of 18? I have no idea. Now, Dershowitz only really answers when it's non-privileged information, aka not attorney-client. In other words, it was either told to him before he was acting as Epstein's attorney, or it was in the media, or he saw evidence outside of what was presented during this court case. Okay, so Dershowitz goes back to this the whole time. And notice here it is right here. Is there any non-privileged information that you could review that would give you an idea to answer the question, or that would give you the answer to that question? Let's see, and again, attorney-client privilege, he doesn't answer. What we have here is only a fraction of the flights where Dave Rogers was one of the pilots. So here we go. I want to make this clear. What Edwards is saying is those flight logs that we have seen, that we already know about, that have showed Clinton being on there 20 plus times, that showed Dershowitz on the plane at least a dozen times. They were only a fraction of the flight logs of just Dave Rogers as one of the pilots, okay? Think about that. Can you help us get the flight logs from Larry Vasaki, Larry Morrison, any of the flight logs from the helicopters, etc.? So now we've got two other pilots, and we've got a whole nother mode of transportation, because obviously this was being used by this network to traffic in underage girls. Dershowitz, what does he say? I would love to. It would all show that I wasn't on the plane. Of course, he knows that he's never going to produce that they will never be produced, that they can't find that stuff, because if you look at all these other court documents out there, it shows that Epstein took computers out, got rid of them. In fact, it's alleged in some of these documents he continued to do what he was supposed to not be doing. This whole network continued even while he was in court, while he was being prosecuted, and allegedly after he got out of jail. Again, it's not Jason Burmis saying that. It's in the list of things that Epstein did. It's in one of the bigger documents that we're going to be doing a separate video. Okay, so if you look, if you keep looking, Dershowitz says, I will do everything in my power to get that. But I will do everything in my power to get you every flight manifest, please. Of course not. Of course not. There's no way. This is Edwards. Was Virginia Roberts lying when she says she was taken to Jeffrey Epstein's home in New York while underage? I have no idea. And remember, Dershowitz says in this many times, in fact, when he's talked about Prince Andrew, okay, he says he's never, ever met the girl. So when he sees the picture of Virginia Guffey Roberts with Prince Andrew, he's like, I've never seen her in person. I don't know what you're talking about. And then he even tries to make the point that even though she was taken overseas at the age of 17 years old to have sex with Prince Andrew, the age of 17 is consent in Europe, so hey, everything's fine. And you'll see that. Thank you very much, Duarto5, for the super chat. We all know that the chances of this thing remaining monetized after going live is not much. Slim to nil. Slim to nil. So make sure you share this with other people. Was she lying when she says Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein used sex toys on her when she was underage? Same objection, same instruction. Remember, they also talk about his New Mexico home right here, because we're talking about New Mexico. We're talking about Florida. We're talking about Little St. James Island. We're talking about Europe and a whole lot more. Okay? So let's continue down. Asks about the outfits. And he's constantly, every chance he gets, okay? Every chance he gets, he tries to spin it. For instance, Maria Farmer, who said that she went to the FBI about Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell in the late 90s. She was of age, but she says that she was sexually assaulted in this whole home of, I believe, Leslie Wexner, who you see down here, and that's why I'm bringing it up. So Leslie Wexner is a the owner of Victoria's Secret. That's his mogul, and she claims, Maria Farmer, not Virginia Roberts, that she was assaulted by Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell there, and that it was a huge ordeal where her father ended up having to come down and pick her up after hours of being held hostage. And she says she went to the FBI. So now, when Bradley Edwards brings up the fact that Maxwell and Epstein had Roberts dress in outfits, he tries to spin it that, well, now we're going to talk about let's talk about this Wexner case. I know that Sigrid McCauley said that she said that Leslie Wexner made her dress up. And then McCauley wants to object. I'm going to object to that extent that you're trying to reveal conversations that were part of a settlement discussion, which the judge has already sealed the record on and is pending motion for sanctions. And if you're going to start revealing that information, we're going directly to Judge Lynch. And he's like, I am going to start revealing. And then that's when the judge stops him. No, I'm going to stop you. And he's like, no, let me tell you why. Because I didn't get that from Sigrid or from David Boyce. So in other words, he's saying he didn't get it in any privileged form. I got it from Leslie Wexner's lawyer in a totally non-privileged communication. Let me stop you. I don't believe it's responsive to the question that's pending. So let's move forward. That's the thing. He constantly is interjecting things that have nothing to do with the question. You know, it's a tactic that many of these people use to stall out time and act as though they're answering the question when they have no desire to answer the question. And obviously, that is what Dershowitz was doing here. Let's see. So here's the outfits. I can only say that the allegation has been made regarding Leslie Wexner as well. So he's trying again to discredit the whole thing. It has nothing to do with my question. Move to strike. Leslie Wexner's lawyer regards that as a full statement, and therefore I can only assume that it's a false statement when made about someone else. I think that's relevant. Again, more spin. Well, I think she was lying here, so she might be lying again. So again, he doesn't ever answer the question on whether he knows that Epstein and Maxwell were making little girls play dress up, but then he brings up Wexner's case to try to throw shade. He's a good lawyer. And remember, he's not even acting as his own lawyer here. And he's like, I'm moving to strike the non-responsive portion of that answer. He's like, he opened the door. Sure he did. Okay. And then they talk about non-responsive in its entirety. Move forward. And Edward brings up Jean-Luc Brunel. I have no memory of ever meeting a man by that name. Do you know what his role was in Jeffrey Epstein's life? No. Let's see. The witness, right. So he just totally glosses that over. And now he starts talking about Epstein socializing with Bill Clinton during the relevant time period, which would be the late 90s through the early 2000s. Now, Dershowitz wants to answer this. My information is that Virginia Roberts was lying when she said that she saw Bill Clinton on Jeffrey Epstein's island. That's all I can comment about that. Again, he has no firsthand knowledge, doesn't claim he has first knowledge. He says, and she's lying about that, and she's lying about how Bill Clinton got to the islands. So again, Roberts says she was on planes with Epstein, with Clinton, going to these islands. And Dershowitz, apparently without any firsthand knowledge, just makes that comment. And he goes, I moved to strike the non-responsive portion of the answer. And he says, no, it's relevant to what you asked. Move forward. I'm not going to strike it. I didn't think that any of that was relevant because he said it was his understanding. Then he showed no evidence whatsoever. And then he wants to go back to the question until he gets an answer. That is, when Virginia Roberts said that during the relevant time period, which was defined as 99 through 2002, and he wants to clear it up around August of both of those years, right? And he's like, yeah, I think August of 99 through October of 2002. Okay, was she lying? Was Virginia Roberts lying when she said Jeffrey Epstein socialized with Bill Clinton during that time period? I don't know. So now I have information that she's lying about that, how Clinton got there, that she rode on the plane with Clinton, that he was at the island. And now, when asked more directly about the time period she's talking about, Dershowitz answers, I don't know. He then challenges him, do you have any non-privileged information that would provide the answer to that question? He goes, I have non-privileged information that provides me that they socialized together at some point. No shit. I don't know whether it was within that time frame at all. I know they went to Africa together on a mission of goodwill. Oh, all that charitable Clinton and Epstein work. They're just such good people going to Africa together. But I don't know the date of that. So I can't tell you whether it was in that period or outside that period. You know that, I don't. Well, if Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Clinton associated, but only at some time period, either before or after the relevant time period, it would immediately disprove her statement that Bill Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein socialized during that time period. He says, I don't understand the question. The judge actually agrees here. He says, I don't understand the question either. So he kind of rephrases it. Do you know from non-privileged information whether Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Clinton ever socialized? He goes, yes. Do you know the beginning, when their relationship began? They object. The judge says, hey, it's under non-privileged. And Edward says, under non-privileged information. And now he answers, I remember having dinner at the home of Caroline Kennedy and Ed Schlossberg with President Clinton. And he basically asked me how Jeffrey was doing. So let's stop it here. We're going to get a little bit later to when Dershowitz claims he met Epstein, which is right around these late 90s that we're talking about. We're going to do the math for you in a minute when it comes up. So obviously, President Clinton asking about Epstein to Dershowitz, he knows that they know each other. And he basically asked me how Jeffrey was doing and led me to believe that they had some relationship with Jeffrey. I don't know when that dinner was. I can probably find out, but that would be non-privileged. And he asks whether or not Clinton was still president at this point. He says he doesn't remember. He says, have you been yourself together with Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Clinton? So now he's claiming he's never been with both of them at the same time. Have you ever talked to Jeffrey Epstein about Bill Clinton? And there you go. They object to that. They are asking now non-privileged information. Edward says non-privileged. He goes, it's hard to sort out the privileged and the non-privileged. So now, basically, Dershowitz is saying, yeah, of course. Of course I have. I just don't know whether I have to tell you that. Have you ever talked to Jeffrey Epstein about Bill Clinton? Of course he has. 1,000% he has. And of course he's done so in a non-privileged situation. But now he's a good lawyer. He's juggling it. He's saying to himself, well, I'm not really sure. I shouldn't answer that probably because I'm not sure. And he goes, I'm going to grant his objection at this point, again, as a continuum, because I want to make sure that we preserve this issue for later on. Man, I can't wait to get just this entire deposition. This is going to take me weeks to go through, guys. We're going to do, again, another document deep dive on just some of the other names that were named, some of the other conspirators and underlings of Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein, Holly Robinson being one of them. Previously in your deposition, you indicated your representation of Jeffrey Epstein on this subject matter began in 2005, right? So again, Dershowitz is saying that he wasn't a lawyer on this matter until 2005, and then later in the deposition, he admits to meeting Epstein in the late 90s and knowing him during that time that Maria Farmer claims that she saw Alan Dershowitz at Epstein's home going upstairs into his New York mansion where underage girls were modeling. It's pretty crazy, huh? But again, Dershowitz just denied. Let's continue. It began, I think I said, when the first allegations were. I don't have an exact date in mind. And he goes, the relevant time period for Virginia Roberts, as we defined, is 99 through 2002. He goes, that's correct, yes. So I'm asking you, if you know from Jeffrey Epstein, in a time period prior to your representation, whether he was socializing with Bill Clinton. And yes, of course he did. Everybody knew it. Of course he knew. 1,000%. So now we're talking non-privileged information. He goes, he was? He was. He says, during the whole period of time up through 2005, you're saying? Yes? And he goes, right. Yes. I think this dinner occurred before 2005, so I would say yes. So what did Jeffrey Epstein tell you about his relationship with Bill Clinton? And again, it gets objected to, and he goes, prior to 2005, obviously. It's a question he should be answering because he wasn't his lawyer representing him for these years, right? He goes, they knew each other and that they were doing some charitable work together. Had Bill Clinton ever been to Epstein's home? And this is where Dershowitz gets tricky on him. He's tricky. He goes, I'm not aware if Bill Clinton's ever been to his home. Bullshit. Absolutely bullshit. And now he wants to bring up what kind of charitable work Jeffrey Epstein and Clinton were doing together. What does Dershowitz do? He interjects something that's totally irrelevant to anything Bradley Edwards said. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute. He says, I can tell you Donald Trump has been to Jeffrey Epstein's home. I've seen him there. It doesn't surprise me. I know that they were buddies. I know that they were friends. I know they had a relationship. Now, according to Bradley Edwards, the lawyer who's asking all these questions to Dershowitz, Trump actually was one of the few, if not the only high-profile person in this whole fiasco to contact him after the fact and give him helpful information. Now, again, I'm not trying to accuse Donald Trump of, sexual misconduct with underage girls. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm saying that they absolutely knew each other, and there is a lot more to meet the eye than just what you're seeing. But I'm also saying that Dershowitz put this in here just to cloudy the waters. Okay? So, what question do you think that you're answering? See, there is no question to answer. He's like, well, you're asking about general things, people. No, he's not. He asked very specific questions there about Bill Clinton and his relationship with Epstein. He says, okay, I'm specifically talking about when we started with, was Virginia Roberts lying when she said that Jeffrey Epstein socialized with Bill Clinton during the relevant time period? And now I'm drilling it. He goes, I don't know the answer to that. Okay, did you understand? Did Bill Clinton travel with Jeffrey Epstein? My understanding from newspapers. Now it's, from the newspaper accounts that they went to Africa together. It's just the newspaper accounts. Remember, we have barely any of the flight logs. We have none of the helicopter logs. And there's at least 2 other pilots that we should have logs from. And the one pilot we do are incomplete. Okay? So he says, yeah, I'm aware through non-privileged sources that they travel together. All right? So let's continue. I want to find out where he meets Epstein. Let's see. Maybe 15 minutes, switch topics. This is the Prince Andrew part. Okay? So, was Virginia Roberts lying when she says she was introduced to Prince Andrew through Jeffrey Epstein? he goes, and this is again, he says, I've never seen her. I've never seen her. He goes, I have seen a photograph of Prince Andrew and Virginia Roberts and Ghislaine Maxwell. I have myself met Prince Andrew. He came to my class at Harvard Law School, and there was a dinner for him. And he asked about Jeffrey Epstein. We discussed Jeffrey Epstein. Okay. So Prince Andrew, who's high profile, who's caught up in this scandal, admittedly is discussing Jeffrey Epstein with Dershowitz. And just recently, on Trump's trip to the United Kingdom, to Britain, to the royal family, who was he hanging out with? His old golf buddy, Prince Andrew. So Trump's very, very aware of this stuff too. Make no mistake about it. And that's why we've got to drill that home. All right, so this is where he panders a little bit, okay? Let's see the question. I don't know if this was, I believe it was attached to the deposition last time. So they're talking about the photograph. He goes, so you're familiar with this photograph? Yes. And I'm also familiar, there's no comparable photograph with me in it. You got to love it. Dershowitz is like, yeah, she's hanging on Prince Andrew. No photos of me with her. No photos of me with her. And again, that's a non-responsive answer. Moves to strike, gets struck. So again, he says, and this is Virginia Roberts in the middle. He goes, I've never met Miss Roberts. Never seen her. Again, he's a good lawyer. So you're saying that she is lying when she says that's her. No, I just don't. I've never seen her. Those are photographs. I've seen photographs. So the judge asks him to rephrase the question. And who is this over here on the... And he goes, no, rephrase the question. The previous question about who the young lady is next to Prince Andrew. Sure. Do you know who this lady is in the middle of the photograph? On the basis of newspaper accounts, it is reported that she is Virginia Roberts. I wouldn't be able to. If you had shown me a picture a year and 16 days ago, I would not have been able to tell you that that's Virginia Roberts because I didn't know who she was. So again, you know, Dershowitz just sticking to his story, talks about Ghislaine Maxwell, and he goes, and that's somebody else that you know. He's like, I do. And you know her through Jeffrey Epstein, right? Now, he says that I tried to find this article, by the way. He says that he wrote an article about Ghislaine Maxwell's father. If you don't know who he is, Ghislaine Maxwell's father was Robert Maxwell, a publishing magnate. One of the biggest like media guys of his era. He also happened to be a member of Mossad who was murdered. They found him, I believe, drowned. Yeah, he just accidentally drowned. And he was just accidentally part of Israeli intelligence. Sure he was. Okay? So here's a point right here. I do remember her meeting her. I remember that Lady Rothschild asked me to meet Jeffrey Epstein. And when Jeffrey Epstein came to meet me, he was with Ghislaine Maxwell. So again, he's saying he wrote an article about her father. He may have met her beforehand. But, I mean, that's a huge statement. How are we not talking about this right now? That the fact that Lady Rothschild is the person that introduced Dershowitz to Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay? Can you understand that? Do you get it? Do you see why there's so many quote-unquote conspiracy theories about people like the Rothschilds? When they're connected to Alan Dershowitz, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Jeffrey Epstein, they're making introductions? It's wild. Why isn't that front page news? All right, so now they're going back. And when was that? The first time Jeffrey Epstein, which would have been the summer of Leslie Wexner's 59th birthday. That's all I can tell you, is that the summer of his 59th birthday, because I then flew with Jeffrey Epstein to Leslie Wexner's 59th birthday. So this is, apparently, since he's just meeting him, the first time he's ever flown on Epstein's plane was to go to Leslie Wexner, the Victoria's Secret mogul. And we're going to type him in so people can check this out. Wexner, his 59th birthday. Okay. So let's go to Les Wexner over here and see when he was born. 1937, aged 81. Okay, 81 minus his 59th birthday would be 22 years. 22 years ago. So 22 years ago, guys, it's 2019. When would this be? The late 90s. When all this stuff is occurring. So in the late 90s, before he's his lawyer, he's introduced, Dershowitz is introduced to Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein through Lady Rothschild, and then flies on Epstein's plane, or flies with Epstein to Wexner's 59th birthday party. So again, this reiterates that Maria Farmer is probably not only, probably telling the truth about the incident, but definitely telling the truth that she reported the incident, the years that these happened, the fact that Dershowitz was in his New York home in the late 90s, and the fact that she went to the FBI, Maria Farmer went to the FBI about Epstein and Maxwell prior to the whole Palm Beach fiasco, prior to all of it. It's right here. It's in the documents, guys. Now, we've been going for quite a while here. We've been going for a half an hour, and this is only a small piece of the Dershowitz testimony. Just a small piece. And again, it just goes on and on about the abuse. We're going to break out and do another couple of these deep dives today, and we're going to name some of the co-conspirators, okay? Let's bring this down really quick. Bring this back up. Haley Robson is one of them. And is the JD5, is this the one where it names other names? No, this isn't it. This is Jeffrey Epstein as a defendant. I'm going to have to continue to look through these. Was it JD2? Hold on one second. Let's see. No, that's an Epstein one as well. That's a Jane Doe 2. And by the way, I think Maxwell's number was 102, to give you an idea. And there's some like 43. There's a lot of victims here that we've never even heard about. Let's see. The Ponzi scheme one is really interesting. That's Stephen Hoffenberg. And in fact, maybe this is it right here. Yes, it is. So we're going to do an entire deep dive on this one. So these are other defendants. So Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, Sarah Kellen, Leslie Groff, and Natalia Malchev. These other women were other procurers as well. And we're going to dominate this document. This is Jane Doe 43. Remember, 30 plus during the Palm Beach stuff came out against him. Okay? I think it was 80 plus were contacted by the Miami Herald. If you look at the numbers, Virginia Roberts is 103, Jane Doe 103. Think about how deep this goes, how many people are involved. They signed NDAs on behalf of this guy. I mean, it is truly treacherous what this involves. And what did we do? We barely scratched the surface of the Dershowitz testimony. So guys, I'm going to be reading. There's a lot of transcripts to go through. There's a lot of things to read. There's a lot of things to share. I need your help. Please get out there. Find these documents. If you've got more, if somebody's got the entire archive, please direct message me. I would like to take a look at them, go through them. I'm going to continue on because this is a very, very important subject. And we know that Dershowitz, the lawyer, is nothing more than a high-level liar. That's what he does. So guys, again, big bullet points on this one. Dershowitz confirmed to have met Jeffrey Epstein in the late 90s with Ghislaine Maxwell through Lady Rothschild, confirmed to have traveled on his plane in the late 90s, made the statement he saw Donald Trump at his home, and so much more. So we're going to stay on this because we think justice needs to be done. And I want to thank all of you guys that have sat with me and watched this stuff and are a part of the Burmese Brigade. If you're new to this, we do real news here. We do stuff about Ted Heath, Epstein, Nexium, George Soros, Charles Koch. Doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. Netanyahu, Kim Jong-un. We expose Disney, DARPA, the NSA, and much, much more. It's real news here without a bullshit left-right perspective. I'm not a conservative. I'm not a liberal. I believe in right and wrong, not left and right. So please subscribe, become part of the Burmese Brigade, thumbs this video up, share it out there on social media, and if you can, hey, we got a GoFundMe going. We're almost 2/3 of the way there. We're 19 days deep. We're doing this every 30 days, trying to raise $5,000 so that I can bring you 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 videos a day. We're doing 30 to 50 videos a week that matter because of you guys. And I want to thank everybody out there that has donated, that is making this possible. And I want to just say, hey guys, you got to be out there. You got to do this research too. You got to help me out. I'm going to miss stuff. I'm going to get stuff wrong. But overall, I'm trying to do the right thing, and I'm trying to do the right thing with y'all by my side. So I'll see you later. Thumbs it up and join the Burmese Brigade. Thank you so much. See you on the flip.